I want to take a second and talk about the water issues we've been having in Lapel and now in Alexandria. Lapel's been going on for a while. They've been having brown water and everything like that. And, Alexandria is starting to experience the same thing. And I'm not going to go into the cause, but one of the consulting firms, engineering firms that said in Lapel was it's the infrastructure. The pipes are starting to fail. These iron pipes will fail. We have to fix it. We have to come up with the funding. And unfortunately, everything costs. This isn't going to be free for communities, but there is money available out there. Now, small communities have an issue because when you're below like 10,000 residents and things like that, towns do not have the ability to pay a full staff. They don't have the ability to pay for a grant writer to seek out these grants. And so it takes a long time to find them. So here's some solutions. One thing I thought about is what if we get a low interest state or federal loan? And instead of having a permanent 60% increase, we get that loan. This is just one idea, and then that loan payment is spread out over all these residents. And as soon as it's paid off, that loan payment comes off that utility cost. Another thing is we can get these small towns to help share a grant writer and to save some of the costs. So basically, Alexandria and Lapel would hire one grant writer and, get that person to look for these grants. And they share the cost of these because all of these small towns have been around for a while. Another thing we can look at is to form maybe a regional water authority so multiple towns can pool their resources. Um, you know, Apply for a USDA rural development grant. Now, that's what that grant writer could possibly do. That can do is combine a loan and a grant, so parts of it do not need to be paid back. That would lower the cost quite a bit. Now, at the State House, we can look at, creating legislation that would create a dedicated water fund for distressed small towns. There's going to be a lot of them across this state. And what that can do is fund these regional grant writers through the OCRA, which is the Office of Community Rural Affairs. Okay, and that sits right underneath the lieutenant governor. And that's what we can do at the state house level. We can also help these towns find these grant writers, to make sure that we get federal and state grants to help them. You know, we can also look at maybe a public and private partnership between large corporations that are already there that are using these large amounts of resources so they can help also pay for some of this infrastructure repair. And those are just some of my ideas.